I get a lot of questions. Welcome to our Friday afternoon live session, but I get a lot of questions about our 9-step sciatica solution. We have a 9-step process that we walk our patients through that allows them to really find relief that they couldn't find any other way for their sciatica. And somebody said, explain a little bit more about the sciatica and the solution. So sciatica, step number one really for our sciatica solution is knowing what is sciatica. And it's important that our patients understand what sciatica is and what we're doing to treat it. Because the treatment really, when you understand why we're doing what we're doing, you're more likely to get through the process. And again, it's a 9-step process, but step number one is identifying what's causing your sciatica. Well, there's 5 reasons that people have sciatica. And usually when our patients come in, like the video yesterday that we did, the woman had all 5 causes. But today I want to talk about what those causes are so you better understand what is sciatica. So typical spine looks like this. Up on the top is the head, so the head would be up here. The hips are down here, and between the head and the hips there are 24 vertebrae. The vertebrae are the bones. And in between each bone there is a disc. And the disc allows for motion of the vertebrae. Each vertebrae is designed to move in 6 directions, forward, back, side to side, and rotate. And all that motion takes place on top of the disc. Now, inside the spine is the spinal cord. So again, the head's here, the hip's here, up here is the brain, off the brain is the brainstem, and then the spinal cord comes off the brainstem and runs through the entire spine from the top all the way to the bottom. And it's on the inside of the spine. And the spine is designed to protect the spinal cord. So the spinal cord would run down through the inside, and the outer portion of the spine is really designed to protect the spinal cord. There are little openings, and this is important because this is where the sciatica comes from. There are little openings between the vertebrae, and these openings are called foramen. And it's through these openings where nerves exit directly off of the spinal cord to the outside of the body. So spinal cord's on the inside, little opening here called the foramen, and through there is where the nerve, and I'll show you what it looks like for sciatica in a minute because it goes down the leg, but it's in this area where the nerve gets pinched that causes sciatica. So the question is, what causes a pinching of the nerve? Well, there's 5 causes. And what you really need to understand is the disc, because it's the disc very often that is causing or responsible for irritation to the nerve that causes sciatica. The disc is a lot like a jelly donut. One vertebrae on top of the other with the disc in between. And this, in the center of the disc, there's a jelly-like substance. On the outer portion, there's a thick material we call the annulus. And on the inside, there's a jelly. And this jelly very often gives stability to the disc. The jelly gives stability to the disc the same way air gives stability to the tire. So it's very important that you have a healthy jelly. But what can happen is this jelly can start to move. And as this jelly starts to move, it'll start to cause some changes in the shape of the vertebrae or the disc. So what happens is if the jelly starts to push out, it'll cause a bulging disc. And a bulging disc is enough to start to compromise that nerve. So reason number 1 is a bulging disc. Reason number 2 is where the nucleus comes all the way to the outside. And as that nucleus comes all the way to the outside, that'll start to pinch the nerve again right in this area. So you've got a bulging disc, you've got a herniated disc, but also these discs over time start to lose a little bit of their disc height and lose a little bit of their jelly-like substance in the nucleus. And when they lose their jelly-like substance in the nucleus, the vertebrae start to get closer together. And as the vertebrae start to get closer together, it's called a degenerated disc. Looks kind of like this. One vertebrae on top of the other. Here's the disc. Here's a nerve as it exits through the opening here called the foramen, but the spinal cord runs through the inside. And as the vertebrae and as the disc degenerates, the vertebrae get closer together. It's this nerve that gets pinched right here. So reason number 3 is the degenerated disc. So bulging disc, herniated disc, degenerated disc. But also what happens is the longer you have the problem in the spine, kind of like we talked about yesterday, the woman in the video yesterday, she had back problems for 5.2 years. And it's the back problems for 5.2 years over time causes a breakdown of everything, causes a breakdown of the bone, causes a breakdown of the disc, and that over time starts to compromise the nerves as well. And sometimes you'll get a tighter space inside the spinal canal. That's called stenosis. You can get stenosis in the canal, but you can also get it in the area of the foramen. That's reason number 4. Reason number 5 is what we call spondylolisthesis. Spondylolisthesis is where the vertebrae start to move in positions they shouldn't move in. The vertebrae can move back and forth, and what happens is you start to get a little breaking of the bone there sometimes. And that breaking of the bone will cause a shifting. And as it starts to shift, ultimately what happens is that shifting will start to compromise the nerves. And that compromising of the nerves will cause the pain that goes down the leg. So the nerves exit the area in the foramen and then go down the leg here. So if they're irritated in this area of the spine, as it goes through that opening, that will start to cause sciatica. So really, it's the 5 causes that really start to decrease the space. And that space is decreased by the bulging disc, by the herniated disc, by the degenerated disc, where the vertebrae physically get closer together, kind of like this one right here. Disc is degenerating, vertebrae getting closer together. The stenosis, which is the narrowing both on the inside and in the foramen, and then the shifting of the vertebrae. And it's not uncommon that when our patients come in, our goal is to identify what the cause is. Okay, we have a very specific proprietary patented process where we evaluate what's happening to the disc. So we know which part of the disc is pinching the nerve. And by knowing which part of the disc is pinching the nerve, we can tailor a treatment for that. And kind of what the herniated disc looks like is the nucleus will come out of the canal. So the outer portion is the annulus. We know that the jelly-like substance is on the inside, kind of like a jelly donut, thicker portion on the outside, jelly on the inside. And then what happens is you'll develop a little tear. I don't know if you can see this, but there's a little tear inside that disc right there. And with pressure, over time, what happens is that nucleus, if there's a tear there, will start to push out. And it looks something like this, where that nucleus pushes all the way to the outside. And it looks just like that. That's the pinched nerve. That's the herniated disc pinching the nerve. Nucleus comes out of the inside, and part of what our goal is with our therapy is to slowly take the pressure off the disc over time, and then the nucleus will start to migrate back to the inside. So our program is very effective for sciatica because we have the ability to directly affect the disc. When there's a tear on the disc and the nucleus has gone to the outside, we have the ability to take pressure off the disc without any drugs or any surgery. And we've talked about the outcomes, and the outcomes are so good because we directly affect the disc. What causes the problem with the nerve? It's a problem in the canal, in the foramen. And it's in this area that's either the disc is pinching, or the nucleus is migrated to the outside, or the bone, okay, the stenosis, or you've got the degeneration, and we slowly take the pressure off. And as we slowly take the pressure off, it frees up the nerve. So what happens? Back pain gets better, and the nerve is freed up. Why do we have the best outcomes? We have the best possible outcomes because we're the only treatment that allows for relief of pressure from this area right in here. It's the disc, it's the ligaments and the tendons, and we take the pressure off, and it frees up the nerve. It's that nerve that gets pinched as a result of that nucleus pushing all the way through there, just like this. I hope you can see that, okay, because it's not easy to do, okay? But the nucleus pushes out, pinches the nerve. We have the ability to take the pressure off and free up that nerve. That's how we solve the sciatica. But step number 1 of the 9-step process is understanding. A key to proper treatment is understanding. It's the educational process. It's understanding what's causing it, but it's also understanding What makes it better? We talked about outcomes for the last 10 videos. Why? Because outcome is a score of how much better you are. Our goal, free up the nerve, eliminates the leg pain, get some healing on the disc, eliminates the back pain. It's the outcome. What is the outcome? The outcome is you're better. Okay, it's a very scoreable procedure. So that is the 5 reasons you have sciatica, and that's really step 1 of our process, is identifying, at least you knowing what the problem is, and we have a proprietary process to identify exactly what is pinching the nerve. And by doing that, we know exactly how to treat the problem. That's why the outcomes are so good. So today's lesson is, why do we have sciatica? There's 5 reasons. I'll do them again. Bulging disc, degenerated disc, herniated disc, stenosis, and spondylolisthesis. It's a compromise of the opening where the nerve comes out. That's what causes it. It's a 9-step process. We have the solution. Okay? Incrementally, you'll get better. So that's the lesson for today. Monday's lesson is, we'll figure it out on Monday. So have a good day. Thank you very much. Drive safe. Enjoy your weekend. Go Bears.